Trauma Uncensored.
Trauma Uncensored.
Trauma Uncensored.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Trauma Uncensored. I'm your host, Brooke Shearer, and today we have with us Peggy Davenport, who is a bereaved widow who not only is here to share her story of loss and grief, but also of hope. If this is your first time listening, I'm so glad you're here. This podcast was born out of my own horrific trauma journey that led to many, many years of darkness and hell. Through those experiences, however, and to where I have gratefully landed today, I wanted to create a platform where others could find comfort and hope in their own journeys, and also a place where they can share their own experiences to provide hope and comfort to the greater good. Community, understanding that one is not alone and that all voices matter, is a pivotal gateway toward healing. That being said, a couple disclaimers before we get started. So we do talk about grief and loss and wide range of traumas, mental health challenges, survival, and great death. That's our depth. That's what this show is about. And know that I am not a therapist. I just play one on TV. But I do believe that my life experiences and the tremendous amount of work I've done, especially over the past few years, has given me a platform which I can help others. For that, I am extremely grateful. If this is your first episode, I do encourage you to go back and listen from the beginning. And if you're someone, or if someone you know or yourself would like to be a guest, definitely please email us at hello@traumauncensored.com. I also have in the show notes below a link for you to sign up to or put your request in to be a guest. So please definitely check that out. And if you like what you hear, we definitely would love for you to go to Apple or Spotify, YouTube, leave comments, definitely follow us. The amazing amount of feedback that I get regularly is immense and amazing. And I am so grateful that I've been able to help people in their own journeys. But it's also given me a platform for which I can continue to help others. And I can do that much better and more easily if people are liking and leaving positive feedback. Andreas will tell you, leave any of the feedback, or we just say, just lie and leave positive feedback. So, I'm down for whatever. So with all of that being said, we're going to move to our next guest, Peggy Davenport. Hello, Peggy.
Hi, how are you, Brooke?
Fine. How are you?
I'm great.
So,
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for joining us. So Peggy lives in Tampa, Florida, and she is the proud mom to two amazing sons, John Robert, who is 27, and Eli, who is 25. Peggy was married to her husband, John, for just shy of 31 years before he passed away 4 years ago on November 4th, 2021. So welcome, Peggy. I'm glad you're here. And I also must say, I'm so sorry for your loss. And you just went through yet another year of his passing. And
Right.
so I'm so grateful for you and your willingness and vulnerability to share with our audience. I know that, in the talking that we've done outside of this or in the background, you are so eager to share your story and especially talk about hope and healing. And we talked a little bit in the beginning or before we started recording about the lead up to, like the 9 months before the lead up to John's death, and how much in hindsight and retrospect and where you are today, it seems to me like it's pretty profound. It was a pretty profound experience.
It really was, and it wasn't anything for any of these experiences that I could ever put it together until after he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So I will tell you how it all started. Actually,
Please do.
John, I'm sorry?
No, I just said, please do.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, John died on November 6th, and that's going to be relative to the story. So let me back it up to December 6th of 2020. My sons were home. One of my sons was home from school during COVID, and he was just going to finish up and do his exams here. He left Tallahassee, came back down to Tampa, and he got a phone call from one of his fraternity brothers that his best friend had this horrible, like weird accident where he fell down, hit the back of his head, and he died. He was the biggest light, the one of the best kids I've ever known in my life. His family's, but they've been best friends since fourth grade, and
Mm.
Will died. And we just were just astounded, like we couldn't believe it. So I'm very close with his family. And so Leslie told me about this book, after the few months after, or what have you, called The Light Between Us and Signs, Laura Lynn Jackson. So I read these books, and it's about a medium. So fast forward to August 6th of 2021. I wake up, it's a Sunday. I'm like, okay, Will, if all of this is true and you're going to show me a sign, I want to see a giraffe today. A giraffe.
Mm.
And so who's going to see a giraffe? But I own a catering company, and my son happened to be helping me that day, and we were doing a 1-year-old birthday party. He was opening presents, and I was like, John Robert, is that a giraffe? And he was like, no, why? And I was like, well, I read the book. I asked Will for a sign. I said, if this is real, I want to see a giraffe. And that wasn't one. So I just went on my day. Our second son had just turned 21, and we had gotten him a house down in Fort Myers for a week for his friend. So I was like, well, I'm coming down at the beginning and spending the night, and I'm coming down at the end. So no, roughness in between all of that. I'm going to check the house out before and after to make sure it's all good. And he was like, great. Drive down there that afternoon, same day, still August 6th. It was pouring down rain. We were going to go watch the NFL Hall of Fame inductees. We ended up at a Hooters. It was his first like legal beer with us, and we're sitting at Hooters, and I look across the street, and there's a 14-foot giraffe in one of those old type of motels directly across the street from me.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. So after that, from August 6th, and of course I called Leslie right away. And of course I called John Robert right away. And my husband's rolling his eyes going, yeah, I'm not going to believe all that, the whole thing. Um, so after that, I started seeing so many signs.
Yeah.
And then exactly 3 months later, well, November 5th, the night before my husband died, we were with our 4 best friends who had come into town, from moving. They were moving, and they were, ending everything up. We hadn't seen them in months, at their house. And my husband said, look, if anything happens to me, I want you to toss me in the woods. I read about it. It's legal. Perfectly healthy. Nothing. I'm like, what are you talking about? And we were all like, what are you saying? That was at 10 o'clock on Friday night. We get home. 7 o'clock in the morning, I wake him up and said, okay, we're going to work out. Don't forget to bring an extra shirt for yoga. 2 minutes away, he drives me up to where our workout studio is. He never worked out. And so I saw him sitting on like a bike, and I'm like, the you okay signal, like, you okay? And he went, like, leave me alone.
Mhm.
Saw him stumble.
Mm.
And I screamed, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's going to kill me for drawing attention to him. He's going to be so mad at me, and on and on, but I couldn't help it. And he had a massive heart attack and died in my arms.
Wow.
And I know now that believe truly that Will was preparing me for that.
Yeah.
He's going to be with us, Miss Peggy, and it's going to be in a good place.
Mhm. That's
And
amazing.
had like, I've had a reading, and they appeared together, and he was like this young kid that was all happy. And even he said, Miss Peggy, tell my mom I hear every prayer she prays for me,
Mhm.
doing better than she knows. So anyway, that was such a traumatic, like, unbelievable death in my arms, and telling me the night before to toss him in the woods. And then I started seeing his sign to me, which was a hawk and the number 23. And that helped me at the beginning
Mhm.
during my, just like shock. I think
Mhm.
I was like, well, maybe this is all going to be okay. Maybe he's going to come, all of this stuff. And so, I started from there. I'll tell you, it was unbelievable. Um, we worked together. We own a catering company. So we worked together. We worked out together. We spent all our time. We did everything together. So everything, fell straight on my shoulders. Like, oh my gosh, I have to call the boys. They're back at school, and tell them that their father died. Like, they're not going to answer the phone on a Saturday morning at 7:30. They've been out the night before. And, but, somehow our community just rallied, my family rallied, and everybody came together. And so those first initial, right before it was right before Thanksgiving, right before
Mhm.
you just kind of coast through. You just like hope you're going to make it.
Do you
But
remember much of it, actually,
um,
of the holidays or those first few
I,
months?
I do. People, you know what I can tell you? For the first year, I was never alone.
Oh,
By
that's
choice,
amazing.
but I can't even begin to tell you the number of people that stepped up, and it was really probably a year and a half to 2 years till I finally said, okay, you guys, I've really got to take the steps to heal, and
Mhm.
to heal and to hope. And so I
Were
was,
you do you feel like you were healing during that time?
yes, a
Even
little
though
bit.
you had the community around? Or do you feel like they were kind of maybe almost distracting in a little, and that's
Well,
not in a negative way,
perfect.
but
I was
just
looking for that distraction. I
mhm,
didn't wanna deal with it, but at the same time, come January, I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna do a grief share," which is, a 13-week, it was online.
mhm. I
That
remember those, yep.
it wasn't my best thing. It wasn't, complete, but for a lot of people, it was great. I didn't really meld with my group as well, but it doesn't matter. I still did it, and I still had the tools to go back to. Immediately, I started therapy and found a great counselor, and I went every week religiously. And you know, there were days that I was on the floor and just couldn't even want to get up, but I still had to get up. And on those days that happened, it was the weirdest thing. Like on my hardest days for that first year, I bet you I had 8 to 10 TV interviews of them contacting me to talk about my business.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, why? Like, I swear that was John saying, keep it up, Peggy.
Yeah,
Don't
absolutely.
walk away from it. And I really do believe that. So at about a year in, I was like, okay, it's time to take this home that I have. I didn't do one thing. I didn't move its clothes, anything. And I was like, I really want to decorate it to what suits me and my comfort so I can come home to like this warm hug, but always honoring John. So I hired a friend of mine and she came in and she made my little house just a perfect place for me, but keeping our family intact. And that was super helpful during that first year anniversary.
What
And
did you do something special for that one, actually?
I did actually. We started
Yeah?
I haven't done as much as I want to do, but I worked with my friend Melanie, and she has an Operation Lotus.
Uh-huh.
She did her um, the golf outing on that day,
Right.
and
Yep.
so we
That's nice.
started a small business called JD's All Stars, where we're going to raise money. We started it. We haven't done anything with it yet, but we've got the money in the bank to buy uniforms for underprivileged kids for sports teams.
Oh, I love that.
But John,
I love that.
so cute. He always was a coach. And if he wasn't a coach, he was always there. And he was so laid back that the kids loved him. He wasn't a mean coach. He was like a nice coach, and
Mhm.
the kids loved him. So I think that he'd be honored when he sees it.
Oh, absolutely. He is honored already. It's interesting you say that. I have a friend named Carolyn who she's been coming down from Indy and hanging out with us. She's actually helping me paint some of my house, which I loathe doing.
Mhm.
But she loves it. So she's like, let's do it. And I'm like, okay. She's a paramedic in Indianapolis and, um, she sees all my crochet stuff and whatever. And she was like, you know, it doesn't happen very often, but babies that are born, while we're out in the field, they don't have, we can wrap them up, but they don't have anything for their little heads. And I've started crocheting little newborn hats to
Oh, I
donate.
love that.
Yeah, to donate to, I'll donate it to the, paramedics and the emergency medical field in Indianapolis, but I'm thinking about reaching out and because I have nothing else better to do,
Right.
right? I'm not busy enough the way it is, but
I
it's
know.
something that really feels like special and honorable. And, I think that is something that is so healing. It
Right.
really truly is in a situation where you've experienced just such extreme loss that if, that's what I keep telling people. It's like in your time, you will figure it out. But finding purpose around, and in fact, I actually do not encourage trying to find that purpose straight after the
Yeah,
death,
I agree.
because for me, I mean, this was my experience, and I've talked to a couple other people who have done that, and I don't really discourage them or share much because it's not my journey. Um, but I do get concerned jumping straight into something like, for us, it was, the nonprofit, and what it turned into was, and for Melanie, Melanie shared it on the show too, that she jumped straight into Operation Lotus so quickly, and it just becomes this distraction that prevents you from actually facing. And I don't think it's something that people know, that it's becoming a distraction. And it may not be for maybe everybody, or maybe there are people who can do it and not be distracted from their grief. But my theory is that the brain is literally saving you from
Yeah,
such overwhelm and just shutting down,
right.
if by encouraging you to jump into something like that immediately. I mean, I remember uh my husband's aunt, when her husband died, um she just got busy doing all this stuff. And my stepmom, when my dad died, got busy doing all this stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, I hope this doesn't come around and bite them later like it did me. It has, for my husband. It has for Melanie. It has for other people that I know. And it's just such a hard thing, because you want to get in and you want to do something with it, right? And it's a double edged sword, because it also is saying, we're going to compartmentalize the work that needs to be done, the
Right.
grief work and the trauma work and all of that needs to be done for sake of this, and keeping yourself busy. Or, like in my case, talking about the crash day in and day out on me, in media and in front of legislators and everything, just made it worse, like continuously worse.
Right.
So finding it is definitely there. I think finding purpose, finding things like that to give back to the community, is amazing,
Right.
and in its due time. So for the year out, you said you were a year out, right? Whenever you decided to start that.
Yes. So
Yeah.
and we'll have it. It's going to be great. But I'm really, honestly, I'm not there yet because I'm still very busy with our company, and
Mhm.
one less owner, and I'm still running it, um and until I can really give it all,
Mhm.
I'm not willing to, like, give just a little bit. So, I feel like it's coming up. One of my sons is gonna take over our business, so when that gets moving on in the next year or so, then I'm gonna jump right into it and really make something
Good.
of it. I'm excited about that, and I will tell you, I knew I was creating all of these distractions by having people around me that
Mhm.
year and a half, 2 years, and I knew that's exactly what I needed, but I also was aware of it, that I was like, "Okay, you gotta really start to stay home alone and feel these
Mhm.
deep terrible loss, and without numbing yourself and without, doing whatever, but just really feel it. Um, and then you start to grow.
Yeah, well, and too, I don't know very many people that can actually say they had some form of community like that after the loss.
Never seen that.
Because it's
Yeah.
and maybe the loss of a spouse is different than the loss of a child. I don't know, but I know a lot of people who have been through child loss don't end up having, a community. It's like, but then I think it goes across the board too, that there are just people that can't handle it. And, so feeling alone and without community, I think, is even worse
Oh, I agree.
than having that community. And I mean, even if you did feel like it was distracting you, you still had a component of life that helped keep you grounded and safe in your mind and in your body. And I'm sure they were all there listening, allowing you to grieve and to communicate, how you were feeling. And that is a form of therapy in and of itself.
100%. And also, for all of us that have lost a spouse, other people love them too. And
Hmm.
we think it's just all me, but that's not the case. Children and family and friends, they all love John, and
Hmm.
they miss him too. And there's enough love to go around. So while we were all together, it was also hopefully a little therapeutic for them. You
which
know,
is great.
they everyone needs each other. I mean, people
Mhm.
need each other, and so I encourage everybody who's lost a spouse, either long-term illness or even old age or whatever, sudden, like I did, you know, try try not to keep it all in. Try not to, try to find your tribe.
What are outside of the tribe, what are some of the other therapies and modalities of healing that you've
Um,
experienced or sought out in terms of moving forward?
so I did a lot of I'm doing a lot of things like the pivot year books and different types of things that you can use to really say, okay, and not to be disrespectful, but I'm not young, so it's not going to be super easy for me to jump back into. I don't have anybody that needs to take care of my children. It's harder, honestly, to meet people at my age than it is, I think, at other ages, only because, first of all, so many of the good ones are gone, in there, because, I'm approaching retirement. And
Mm.
it's an 80-20 rule. There's 80% women, 20% men, and I'm not all that great. So, I mean, it's just it's hard out there. So now I'm like, okay, here's my life. And here was my life for 32 years with John and our family, and that's never going to go away. It was amazing and great, but I still might have. My mother was a widow for 29 years.
Mm.
It's a blank slate. And how am I going to fill that? And what am I going to do for that? So maybe, everybody thinks you have to fill that with a love relationship, a marriage, or what have you. But maybe you don't. Like maybe, I just took a great trip last year on his third anniversary with one of my best friends that worked with us for 11 years. And we did like 10 different countries or cities in Europe. And it was not John, but it was wonderful.
Mhm.
And, I have people I've tried, some new, different types of workouts like rowing and different things that, it wasn't him, but the people are great. So you have to be able to say, how do I want to mold, the rest of my life? I still want to have fun. I still want to be part of, going out with friends and groups and people and couples. I don't mind that at all. I'm not, it doesn't bother me if it's just like a couple thing. I'll tag along. I don't care. But I also want to find my own path. Do I want to, I've been reading so many just for pleasure too, but, just reading more and, praying more, getting really back into church more, the things that I can still do alone, but was always good together. But you can't just stop your life because you lost some.
No, that's right. Or I mean,
Stop
and
doesn't want
in
to.
any circumstance, right? You can't just stop your life. And I think,
Right.
unfortunately, after we lose someone in that regard, and it doesn't even have to be the death of someone. It can be the loss of a marriage. It can be the
Absolutely.
loss of a job. It can be the loss of so many different things. Um, I think the lesson, honestly, is to learn how to be okay in your own skin, to live in your own skin, and to find happiness and joy within yourself
Right.
and not have to depend on what society thinks, you should be doing,
Absolutely.
and I mean, honestly, if you didn't happen to get married again, you know, I mean, how in this moment, sitting right here, if you were to say, okay, you know what? That's not in my cards.
Right.
How do you feel about that thought?
You know, honestly, it would make me sad because I loved being married.
Mhm.
But also, I also know that my kids love me and I'm going to be a fun grandmother and I'm going to have great, daughter-in-laws. I have really great friends. I have a great, extended family of my brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and everybody. But really, truthfully, in my opinion, the end of the day, God knows exactly what he's doing with us. And if he wants someone in my life, he's going to send that person to me. And if he wants me to be alone and maybe set an example of somebody that, you know, can be strong and be there for other people and still trust my gut and trust my instincts and still carry on what his messages for me to do or whatever, I have to believe that. I mean, I just have to believe it because otherwise it'll drive you crazy. Because it's,
Right.
well, no, nothing but, I mean, really, for the most part, most people know marriage, family. I mean, that's what a lot of our society and world is. And there is a whole other aspect to it that I'm learning. And you know what? Some things I really love. Like I'm like proud of myself. You know, you get proud of like, I did that. Like I did
Mhm.
it, you know?
All on your own. That's
Yeah.
the thing, that's I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. Um, and I really encourage, I mean, and I'm just basically repeating what you said, but I really encourage people to try and allow into their being, into their thought process, is to literally trust the process.
Right.
I mean, and it's so hard. It is so hard to try or to let go of that control.
Like,
But here's what
oh,
I
I
feel
know.
about control. Control is just an illusion. We
Mhm.
ultimately, I mean, sure, we have free will, right? And there are certain things that we can dictate or we can do and, think that we're in control. But ultimately, in the bigger picture, we're not.
No.
People die, riding a bike at the gym.
Right. Right.
Kids die from a distracted driver, within the blink of an eye. You
Right.
know, there are people who die at the hands of medical people,
Right.
and there's malpractice. I mean, and we just these things do not we can't change them. We can't stop them.
No.
And if we look at it in a perspective of, you know, man, life really just there are times where it just sucks.
Right.
It's just fucking hard.
Awful.
And there's just no way around it. We are not immune to anything
None
in
of us are.
life. No, not one single person. And if we are able to understand that and understand that these hard things are going to happen and understand they're happening because they're meant to happen,
Right.
and what's going to come next could be a reflection of what happened before, like, you know, A and B and C happened, but D couldn't happen unless A, B, and C were there.
Exactly.
And it takes a lot of work and just so much work and reflection to understand that. I mean, you said it perfectly. It's if it's meant to be, it's going to happen.
Right.
Whatever lies before me, I can't control that. So one of the biggest things that have a friend of mine, Leith, um, she told me a long time ago that she was able to ultimately move forward. Things became or really opened up for her once she let go of control.
Right.
Once she said, I am not in control. That's when things began to open. And I think,
100%.
we fight it so hard, and by fighting it and trying to control the journey or control the path, we're missing out or we're not seeing what is right there in front of us.
Right.
Those little breadcrumbs to the next step.
100%. And we all try to control, well, for the most part, most people do try to control
It's
things.
human nature. Yeah, it's
That,
human nature.
we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to open ourselves up. Everything. I mean, it's all of it. But once you do, or what I'm finding, because it's everyday thing. But once I say, "Okay, take it. This is all yours,"
Mhm.
I'm 50 pounds lighter. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, this is awesome because it's going to all work out one way or the other. You know, things that got me through the first um, couple of months were, your name is written in the book. I know your beginning and your end. And so I'm like, keeping God in control of all that. Then we can't control God. I was try to all the time. You can't. And if you can just let that go and you can breathe a little bit better, and then you allow yourself to find those breadcrumbs, the ones that are like,
Mhm.
look at this new friend I made.
Mhm.
Or like, look at this beautiful place I've never been to before. And it's just all right here for me. I've met so many people um, that John didn't even know. And it's only
Mhm.
been 4 years. I mean, 4 years in eternity is one day, maybe, or maybe
Right.
we don't even understand that. But 4 years is a long time on earth. And I've met some beautiful people, great new friends, people that I would have never come in contact with. And
Mhm.
maybe they're defining my story and I'm defining their story. We
Mhm.
just You never really know. We'll know it all one day, but we don't know it today.
Right.
And you know, I told a friend the other day, I was like, if John came back now, like right now, I'd be so happy. I'd take him back in a second. But I wouldn't be the same person.
Right.
And I think he'd still love me. I think he'd be proud of me. I think he'd say, "You messed up here and here and here and here," because he sees it
Mhm.
all. But, and I think it'd all work out, but, you gotta define your growth too. Like,
Absolutely.
define it, because otherwise you'll get really, really unhappy.
And what's really important to understand about that growth is that there is no defined timeline. There just absolutely isn't. So where you said, in a couple months, what helped you was, or you had things that were helping you to kind of, understand you weren't in control. It took me, 7, 8 years. I mean, it was actually not until I was finally diagnosed and, had gone to treatment for OCD
Mhm.
that, I started to see that bigger picture, and that was just I mean, that wasn't even 2 years ago,
Right,
It's and I've been at this I mean, Logan passed away in, 2016, and there was trauma that happened before that, and, that was just excruciating, and, um, so for, people who are sitting here listening to this and being like, "Man, 2 months, that's awesome." Also understand that I mean, really that timeline doesn't exist. I mean, here I am pointing at myself going, you know, 8 years, right? 8 years it took for me.
right. Well
But I also look at it in terms of that's how it was supposed to go. That's how it was supposed to align for me
well,
because
100%.
everything in its divine timing and its right timing and its exact timing. And that's something too that if we allow ourselves to let go of that control, we have the ability to see that you just have to trust it
Yep,
and just sometimes put, one foot in front of the other, 1 second, just second by second, day by, or, hour, minute, all the things, don't rush it. Just let
right.
it be.
I will say too, I don't know about you, and my therapist told me this is super normal, but I had a year. I was like, okay, I just have to get through this first year. Go through all the holidays, all of the big
Mhm.
dates, everything, and then I'm going to be fine. Well,
Mhm.
it doesn't work that way, and
Mm-mm.
nobody should ever. I don't know why. Well, I think it's a natural brain thing that you need a timeline because you can't
Mhm.
feel this hurt so much all the time. So that was a little bit of an adjustment when I realized it's almost the second year is almost harder because you realize you really do need to do extra work and all of the things, and that makes it harder and harder. But I think in your case too, though, you had other children. I mean, it was like you had. I didn't have anybody here, so
Yeah.
there's a difference. My kids went back to school and back to their lives, and um, facing the night alone is tougher. But you couldn't even face it completely for yourself because you had to take care of everybody else.
Well, I mean, and there was a time that I shut down from any of that,
Yep.
after Logan was killed. I mean, at that point, we only had Mallory. She was 5. So Mila came 3 years after Logan passed away. But I mean, and part of it was because I was also physically broken. I was
Right.
physically broken, so I couldn't get up and I couldn't move around and I couldn't keep busy and I couldn't keep distracted. And we had, amazing humans that took us in for, the next few months. And because I couldn't move and my husband was having a hard time moving, because of our physical injuries, they helped us so much with Mallory. I
Good.
mean, she was in a wheelchair, so they had to, take her out of the wheelchair and help her to the bathroom. And I mean, they helped her shower and they did all of these things. So, I mean, for us in those first, few months before we actually moved back out on our own, we had this love and care and support. But also it kind of gave me maybe a crutch to fall back on so I didn't have
Permission to not
to.
deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, I have permission to back away from everybody and just be the mom,
Mhm.
baby mom, and
Mm.
you deserve that.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, in hindsight, it's hard. I still carry a little bit of guilt for that. And, to this day, I mean, Mallory's 14 now and her and I are so very close.
Right.
And I also believe that our relationship has just grown and gotten stronger because of the journey.
I love
And especially because of how hard I've worked and all of the work that I've done in order, that for myself that allows me to relay that to her. Like she's going through a really hard time in school right now. And she told me some things last night about, her friend group. And, I feel horrible. And the best thing I can say to her, it's not, you shouldn't be friends with them. Don't be friends. I mean, and there are people who will do that. You know what? They'll get defensive and they'll just say, just cut it off and go another way. And I'm able to look at it. And this morning I told her, I said, I'm really sorry. I'm so very sorry you're going through this.
yeah.
And, I encourage you to remember that, doors are going to close and better things are gonna be on the other
Those
side of that
windows just
door.
open up then when the doors
Yep,
close. Poor thing,
yep.
I hate 14-year it's
Oh,
awful.
I
It's
know, I know.
awful. I mean, that's a whole grief within itself.
I know. It
Middle school,
truly is. But I
really.
mean, also watching it too as a
Right.
mother,
Oh, I know,
holy
yeah. Oh,
crap.
I know that God gave me boys for a reason because I would have probably been the one to be, "What are you doing?" I would have probably meddled right, and I would have been terrible.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, and I have 2 girls, right? One of them is just in 1st grade, so I've got a while again before I have to deal with all of that, but it is heartbreaking
But they
to
have
watch her go
support.
through that.
Everybody does.
Yep. And it's just like, this could go for your child, it could go for your friend, giving them the space to talk about it and talk about their grief and talk about their hurt and to, just simply say, I'm sorry. It doesn't have to come with, you know, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. I mean, a simple I'm sorry and some form of even encouragement, and I've learned that a lot over the past couple of years. So, to kind of circle back, there is guilt that I have. And I know that whenever I Logan first passed away, I was shutting her out. I had an excuse to shut her out and I
Right.
was afraid. I was afraid of
Would lose her.
I was. So I was like physically and mentally I was preparing myself for that loss, so I kind of shut her out. And now, I mean, I couldn't imagine I can't imagine a better relationship. I was gone last week for a week and, doing my own self care. And I come home and she's, as soon as she got home from, she was doing a school thing when I got home and she came home and she came running and she gave me this great big hug and she was talking about how she told all of her friends all day long her mom was coming home and,
Oh, I love that.
that's the thing. That is the growth and the letting go of the control and all, I mean, everything we're talking about, right? It's
Right.
having, that compassion and allowing yourself to honor those stages to get where
Yeah.
you're supposed to be going, letting go. I mean, just letting go and listening and following the breadcrumbs, which you can't do if you're trying to control.
You can't do
Mm.
it at all. And, I was gonna say, for all of us, like, we have like, I can read every book, you can read every book, we can do all of those things, but at the same time, you still have to just walk the path, and they wouldn't want us to be this way.
Oh no, absolutely not.
None of them
No,
would be like, "What are you making a big deal?" I mean, he was like, "Toss me in the woods." I read about it, it's legal. Who says that?
I
I
think it's
mean,
hilarious. I
that's
do.
so funny. And now I'm like 10 hours before he died. I'm like,
Right.
"You're trying to tell me." And I mean, they don't want and I do get really a little jealous and a little bit really sad when I see older couples, like, walking down the street holding hands.
Mm.
I'm like, "God, I missed out on that." Not that we weren't older, we were older, but like old couples that, just, answers each other's questions and things, sentences and things like that, but it's not in the cards for me, but
Well, and you never know. And I mean, you just never know
you never know.
what's in store for you in the
No,
future. And,
everybody and yeah.
it is so very interesting. It is so very interesting to me that you are open to and seem to have found peace with the idea, though, that there could be someone coming along
I would
later.
love that. I haven't found it yet. Um, of course I've dated. I've dated some, I dated somebody for a while um it didn't work out, but I dated a lot of kooky people. Like it's like where are they from? And I'm like, these are all the leftovers. Like I no, I had a
All the
guy,
leftovers.
there's the one guy, I was like, he never got married, he was really good looking. We're sitting here at a Bucks game, and I looked at him and I was like, you just got out of prison. And he said, "Well, I was" I could tell you so many stories. He's like, "I was a, really bad kid, but I'm a really good man now." So I was like, "Okay, I want all the details." Like, I spent the whole night not even watching the game, but listening to his entire life story. Couldn't believe it. My kids were like, "You're not going." They were like, "Mom, you gotta vet him." I'm like, "How am I supposed to know? Like, how are you supposed to know?"
Uh-huh.
You know? I've had that. I had somebody that got arrested for prostitute, buying prostitute. I mean, it's unbelievable.
There are some interesting people out there. How long did it take for you after you were widowed
John
to
died.
yeah, to
Did the love
feel comfortable with the idea? I mean, did you feel
well,
did you feel guilty to begin with, or was it kind of like this gradual process where you were like, never again, John's the only one for me, you
no, it was
know?
probably no, I knew right away that I was like, he wouldn't want me to first of all, he wouldn't want me to be sad, but you can't help it. Secondly, he would not want me to be alone. Now, let me just tell you, because I'm a very much people person. He was very much a loner. Like he was an introvert. Like, and he would have probably done great if I had died. Like he would have been, I think, fine.
Mhm,
Like just, very. He was the most um, unassuming, content man I've ever known. He never was jealous of anybody. He was just a rare human being. So I think he really would have loved to have been alone. I used to tell him all the time, "Oh my God, you could have been the best hermit. Like you could have lived up in the mountains and been completely happy. But now you have your kids, so now you're not going anywhere." But I don't think he wanted, so about maybe a year and a half in or something, I was like, maybe I'll test the waters. And the first guy I went out with, he was a great guy and we're still really good friends. And he had lost his wife the year prior to me, so that made it easier. And then I just went on from there. But now it's like, I'll just take it or leave it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
mhm. If it's meant to happen,
It's meant to
it will
happen. And
happen.
and women and men all are different. Like some people have to have somebody right away, and some people, and you don't settle. None of us, nobody should ever settle.
No, no. No, they
So,
shouldn't.
yeah.
So I am curious, what how have how has John's passing, so I know you guys, you owned a business together, you did everything together. How has there was you were talking earlier about the restaurant. Um, what was it like continuing that job in the beginning?
I'll tell you
Like,
that. I,
that's, having all of that was your, thing. And honestly, I'm surprised that you're still, I mean, it is a surprise to me that you're still going headstrong with it, because I'm sure a lot of people would fold, just about everything, especially if it involved their spouse.
so this is a very good question because I have a great answer for it, but it's
Mm,
not for everybody. It's not a restaurant that we own. We own a catering company, and
right.
it
I'm
started,
sorry I said
and
restaurant.
that's okay. But I'll explain to you why it was able to work, and this will make you cry even. Um, so I started the business 15 years ago, sitting at the ball field while he was coaching. We can't leave your kids anywhere anymore. So you're sitting at practice. And one of my girlfriends said to me, "Peggy, you're the best cook we know. Why don't you just start making a little extra and we'll buy it from you?" So that's how Davenport's Daily Delights started.
Mm,
Like, oh, I'll do that. And so I started selling people dinners. So really what we do is, besides catering on the side, we do a lot of homemade weeknight meals, almost like a meal prep, but we deliver fresh daily.
mm,
And we're in a kitchen on our own. And I've had Emily worked with me since the boys were in 10th grade. And she worked with John every day too. And then we have other people in and out. So very tight knit group of people that loved John as much as they loved me. And so when he died, they just rallied around me, and I could stand at the stove cooking something and burst into tears, where a lot of people probably couldn't do. So I took just 2 weeks off, and then it was our busiest time of year is Thanksgiving. So I had to go back for that Thanksgiving week. So I spent a couple of weeks. We just closed it down. People understood. I mean, my customers are amazing and have been my customers for a long time. And but I was so another little God wink blessing was that I could burst into tears and scream and carry on. Where I don't think if you go back into an office, you could really readily do that.
Right.
So I think that helped me a lot, actually, when I was just like trying. But I remember getting in the car, driving back, because he would always take the food back to the delivery drivers here, and I would be in the other part of Tampa, and we kind of just I had to work that out. I had to work things out, but I would find things people would help and whatever. But I remember getting in that car every day, bursting into tears, going, "I did it, I did it, I did it," and then I'd go another day.
One little baby step in front of the other.
One tiny little baby step in front of the
Hmm.
other.
That's crazy because it took me months before I could even answer my emails. Seriously. I
Yeah,
mean, get motivated enough to get in. And like, I remember paying bills was excruciating. They'd be sitting there and I'd stare at them and I couldn't life. I went back to work. I took the rest of the semester off. I was a professor at the University of Tampa. I took the rest of that semester off and then went back for the spring semester. And I mean, I remember sitting and crying in my office in between classes. That's as much as I could do. I could just sit there and cry, and I'd go into the classroom and I would do my damnedest to, keep composed. But I know that my teaching lacked, my grading lacked. I would though take. We had rescued Dash, our black lab. We
mhm.
had rescued him in February of 2017, and I very quickly began taking him to class with me. So that was, yeah, I mean, everybody loved him, and it just really having him next to me because we rescued him, and on in time, I have said repeatedly who rescued who because
Right,
that dog saved our lives
right.
and those he does I've mentioned on a previous podcast he lays right next to me whenever I do this, and I'm going through a rough time right now, and that
Is he
dog
right?
is
He's probably
right.
right there. He's not
Yeah.
gonna leave you. My
No.
So I will tell you this, I think this is kind of critical. We had Tank, and we rescued Tank, a boxer, and we loved him so much. It was really mostly John's dog, but, I mean, we all loved him. And Eli, my younger son, um, I never really saw him grieve the way I thought he needed to get it out. He was really close to his dad, and, Tank died, March 29th of this year, so he had, like,
Oh.
2.5 years, and Tank knew. Tank, like, when he was missing John, would go and I'd say, "Go get your daddy," and he would go find a football that John had from all the team that coached him, and he would lay
Mm.
on it. We've got more than that.
Oh.
It's crazy. But anyway, so we call, like, Laps of Love or somebody to come in to put him down at our house, and it was just me and Eli and John Robert. Well, Eli it was almost not comical, but almost comical. He lost it. He
Mm.
was screaming. I'm sure this woman had no clue that we knew what he was crying about, but and nobody said anything. We didn't say a thing. He just sobbed and screamed and all of it out. And then the next day, he's gonna take over my business, so he's at work, and he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to say, I think that a lot of that crying was really for daddy." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Oh, of course.
100% it was," but we knew it. I knew it the whole time he was doing it. This poor woman who just came in my house, never met us before. It's like, "Who is this 25-year-old screaming like this?" But it was so,
Mhm.
cathartic for him. He had to do it. It's everybody's own time.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody's own time. So,
Yep.
I mean, I've talked to more people. I also did a lot of those first couple of years because I wanted to share, like, I feel like I was the first one of my friends, our friends to lose somebody, but
Mhm.
I wanted to share what I was really feeling. And I would write it out, on Facebook or Instagram, and really, really, I honored him and highlighted him. And I bet you more than 100 people have come to me and said, "Peggy, you don't know how much you helped me."
Oh, that's amazing.
So, I mean, it was really very sweet, like, but
Mhm.
it was also very helpful to me.
Do
I had
you
I had someone yesterday, well, I was in Charleston this weekend just on a girls' trip, and one of John's high school friends, I've never met his wife, but I knew Kenneth, and he's really sick. And she reached out to me and said, "I have to ask you, you've helped me so much, and you don't even know me. Like, what do I do?" And I'm like, "Well, call me this week, and we'll start the process." But yeah, so I mean, you don't know your purpose as a
No.
none of us do as
Mhm.
a bereaved parent. And look what you're doing now, helping
Mhm.
some people.
Yeah, well, and that's been part of the journey too, and the whole podcast came out of a meditation, and,
Oh, that
and then in hindsight, I'm like, "Why didn't I ever think of this before?" But I sat on it. It came to me in a meditation, and I sat on it for a while, um, and then came in contact with Andreas, and the moment I talked to him, I
yeah,
knew where I was headed, and, it just continues to grow, and I'm so grateful that it does because, and the reason that, of course, I started off in the podcast telling my story, and I'm now shifting over to other people telling their stories because, I mean, let's face it, I can't run a podcast solely on my story. It'll get
right,
boring after a while, but the feedback I was getting about, from the episodes that I was putting out on my own was so just overwhelming but overwhelming in a good way. And that's when I was like, you know what? More people, and because people were wanting to share their stories,
right,
people were coming to me and talking to me and wanting to share their stories. And I think I've known for a very long time that that's what people want because it is very healing and cathartic and all of those adjectives when you can share it, right? But there's no safe space. We don't feel like there's a safe space. We feel like nobody's listening. We feel like we're alone.
right.
Um
You
and
feel unseen,
mhm.
and
Mhm.
I don't wanna and I think that people as we age start to feel unseen anyway. We're not,
Mm,
I mean, it's just life is sad, but it's true. But it doesn't have to be that way.
no.
And when you find a community where you feel heard and seen, it just lifts you up that much more. And
And
so and helps
absolutely.
each other. Like it'll help like what you're doing is incredible.
Well, and that's the one thing too that I do encourage people to make sure that they have is community.
Right.
I mean, I have not really had a tribe for most of my life. I've been a loner.
Mhm.
I especially, if I had friends, I was always you know, I was always the one that they had in, so they had someone to make fun of or to give shit to or whatever. That's just how it's always been all my life. And then after Logan died, got
I
it
can't
really got bad. Yeah. I mean, and the feelings of alone. And it's been interesting because since, I've really been building community for myself for the past say about a year and a half, but it was when I started the podcast
right,
that I really I have just this tribe now, which is it's weird how it all came together, but I mean really it's not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences,
I
so I
don't
can call
either.
it weird all I want,
Right,
but it happened exactly when I needed it to because not only was the podcast something that, this tribe has helped me move forward with and I've gotten to meet new people and become good friends with some of these people and have people to talk to now,
right.
but they've also been such a tremendous support like what you had. So what you had after John's passing is nothing I've ever known.
Right.
And now that
Nothing
I'm going
I've ever seen either.
yeah, and it's I mean, and I would have loved to have had it after Logan passed, but it just wasn't in the cards until for very, very many years, until recently, really. And, you know, I'm going through a rough time at home and in life. And this tribe has been here to support me and they're not afraid. That's the one thing I've learned is that they aren't afraid. I can talk to them and
Right.
be open and honest and transparent and they don't run away.
Right.
I
And
don't know
see,
what that's like.
I know, and everybody needs that. Everybody needs to find those people that aren't afraid to be real
Yep,
and show you how loved you are
exactly.
in spite of all of our, day in
So
and
if
day.
there's anybody out there listening that is not feeling loved, that feels like they don't have a tribe, that feels like they have no one to talk to, you can at least reach out to me because damn it, I understand what it's like to feel that alone. And I don't think anybody should ever feel that
Well,
alone.
I agree, and call me too.
Yep.
I'll be your friend. Like or I'll be a real friend. I won't be a fake friend.
I
Because
feel I feel like, I could have added you into that, but I didn't want to speak for you. So I'm
oh
glad
no,
that
no,
you
no,
added
no, no,
yourself into
you
that.
never know. I'll talk to everybody. I mean, I get it. Like people need people. You
People
know?
need people. It is
Yeah,
very hard for me to sit and watch certain people in my life right now who continue to be so closed off and refuse to have any sort of community because it just makes you miserable.
yeah,
And it's not that I haven't tried, I haven't sought out community, but the right tribe, the right community for me was waiting. It just needed to be in the right time. And it's been this year. And it's been, I mean, I'm so grateful for it because I see things in a new light. Like
yeah.
my life is different for it. And so if there's anything I can stress, it's that community is, and not, it doesn't have to be, your community doesn't have to be, you know, 30 people,
No,
right?
you can be
It can be
totally
a handful of people because but it's the authentic ones,
right.
that will help you move forward,
Well,
will
and a
help you
community could
heal.
be somebody like, okay, during the pandemic, we were super busy because delivering meals to homes,
Mhm.
everything else was closed. It was really busy. And one of the things that we did is we started feeding like um, at the hospitals and things like that. But we found a nursing home
Mm.
with older people.
Mhm.
Every one of them was just in one room by themselves. It was like
No.
um, and they couldn't even leave their room.
Ugh.
And, just leaving little notes for them when we were bringing their food, that's like sense of community. Like,
Mhm.
they loved it. I saved some of these letters from people and notes from people.
Oh.
I was like, "Oh my god, they just need a community too." So it could
Mhm.
be it's reaching out to a person that you might become a friend that you never thought
Mhm.
you would.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to
Mhm.
be what you think your friend should be,
Right, absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely, and knowing that people are gonna come into your life and go out of your life, and other people are gonna come into your life, and I think that's part of the journey. I think that's part of the lesson. For me, bringing people or having people in my life before, I think the reason I was so alone or that I attracted the wrong friends was because of my trauma from growing up. Like,
Maybe. Yeah.
from just a little girl and then excuse me, my experiences as I would, develop into a teenager. And then I think that led me to the pitfalls in trying to have friendships, as an adult. And, once people started to kind of disappear after Logan died, that's when I was like, there is nobody out there. There really, truly, there's just nothing. There's nothing. It's all fake. But as I, and it's interesting to say that I think as I've grown into the person that I am today, it has allowed for those relationships to start to appear, so,
100%.
yep.
Yeah, 'cause
I
you're
mean,
healing
and
within.
that's right. And, healing and positivity and joy, and even through trauma and grief and loss, all of that begets that type of, person right back. There's just all of these connections and it opens the door for you to have those connections. So,
And it gives you confidence in yourself that
oh, for sure.
you're not like a complete like mess. Like,
Right.
we're all a mess, but we're not that hot of a mess all the time. Like
I don't
that.
know. I feel like I'm a hot mess all the
Oh my
time. You should
gosh.
see my house right now. Oh my
I
god.
posted a picture a couple of weeks ago of my closet. This is what I let my closet get messy and I let all of that happen when everything else has to be straight in your life. And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is my grief closet, but I'll come out of it. I'll clean it in one day. And,
Mhm.
everyone needs that too. Like we have to allow ourselves
Yeah, we do. We have to stop putting so much pressure on ourselves.
100%. That I think
Just
that's exactly
knowing that it not all has to be done in this moment. There is nothing that is that critical or crucial that it has to happen right now or that you can't take a break. I mean, listen, after this, you know what I'm going to do? So I've been working on the podcast pretty much all day. I've been working on this and upcoming podcasts. Um, and I decided after this, I'm going to go sit in my chair and I'm going to pick up the hat that I'm making and I'm going to crochet because that just brings me back to center.
there you
It helps
go.
me breathe. I'll probably turn on ER because that is, that is the flavor of the day for me that I'm watching. Just trying to
I used to
I
watch
binge
that.
watch ER a lot, but
There you go. Yeah, I'll
mhm.
find something to binge. I think I'm going to go watch The Golden Bachelor, see the finale.
Seriously? Oh, I've
Oh, it's
never
so
seen
dumb.
any of those.
It's so dumb, but it's so fun,
Hey,
so
listen, so it's been wonderful, wonderful having you on. Thank you for sharing. I mean, this is, I had a whole bunch of questions written out, to reference to if we needed it, but we haven't needed to do it. And I'll just save those to reference later if I
right.
have to for, other podcast episodes. But can you remind me of the book that you referenced? There was one called Soul.
No, no, no. The book and I'm reading her third book right now too. It just came out. It was The Light Between Us and Signs.
Oh, and Signs.
And
And
Laura Lynn Jackson. They're very easy to read. She's had some TV shows I saw too, but she's amazing. And you know what? We'll go offline, but I'd love to send those to you.
Oh,
I
well, and actually, I was going to say that I will include those links in the show notes as well.
Yeah,
And
and her
then
third book is called Sell is Guided, and I just started it on the plane, and I can't put it down. That's probably what I'm going to do when I hang up is read more
go
of that.
read.
It's just real life stories of these people and her encounters with them. They're fantastic.
I enjoy those types of books because it also helps me feel not so alone. And it
Oh,
gives me, hope. And um Carolyn had me watching some show about people having near death experiences
oh, I
and
know.
I'm just like it fascinates me because I'm so curious,
My
It's
godson
not
had
like I'm not ready to go, but I'm also so very curious what happens, because of everything that's opened up after. So, but if there are any other links,
oh, I have plenty I can send over to you. I'll just
yep.
email them over to you, and then because I really did read some fabulous. I've got some fabulous books. I
Yep.
like
So for those listening, I'll get all those resources
Waking Up
from
Alone is
Patty.
another really good one, and yeah, I'll give you a bunch of them. I'll send you
That's
a bunch.
perfect. Yep. So I will put links in the show notes so people can reference those. They can go check them out and hopefully find something that
Well,
might be
not
worthwhile for them
me
to
too.
read. And
So,
yep.
I mean that.
So
All
awesome.
right.
So
Well,
before we go, is there anything else you would
no, I
like to
just want to
add or
tell
say?
everybody just to, don't give up. We're here for a reason, and we can find joy every day in something. And just remember that on our darkest days when we don't want to get out of bed. But
Absolutely. Very
anyway,
well said.
much Brooke.
All
God bless
right. No, thank you.
the
All
best. So, all
right.
right.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys. All right. Bye.
Bye.